नमस्ते दर्शकों, आप सभी का स्वागत है आज की इस परिचर्चा में। और आज हम बात कर रहे हैं गोवा के बारे में, गोवा के इतिहास के बारे में। हमारे साथ हैं सैवियो रॉड्रिग्स। स्वागत है
नमस्ते
आपका
संजय जी,
सैवियो।
कैसे हो?
बिल्कुल, ऑल गुड, ऑल वेल। सैवियो रॉड्रिग्स, जैसा कि आप जानते हैं, गोवा क्रॉनिकल के ऑल इन ऑल हैं, एडिटर कम चीफ एग्जीक्यूटिव कम एवरीथिंग। तो अभी एक विषय आया था सैवियो, जिसमें आपने चीफ मिनिस्टर की थोड़ी आलोचना की थी। और वो ये था कि चीफ मिनिस्टर ने एक स्टेटमेंट दिया था कि वो जो है वो पोर्चुगीज इन्फ्लुएंस जो है वो गोवा से समाप्त करना चाहते हैं। तो उसमें आपको क्या आपत्ति है? क्योंकि जहाँ तक मुझे याद पड़ता है, आपने स्वयं जो पोप के लिए कहा था कि पोप ने जो है वो गोवा इंक्विजिशन के बारे में आज तक माफ़ी नहीं मांगी है और उन्हें मांगनी चाहिए। तो निश्चित रूप से कुछ ऐसे काले अध्याय हैं जिनका आप स्वयं विरोध कर चुके हैं। तो फिर प्रमोद सावंत जी ने क्या गलत कहा?
No, actually, Sanjay, I think there is a misunderstanding out here. In fact, I support Dr. Pramod Sawant's view on the reconstruction of the temples that were destroyed by the Portuguese. I do support
Right.
that. In fact, I made a statement quite
Okay.
openly about it.
Okay.
My only statement that I made was number one, that history or the past is an integral part of our history. Okay, number one. Number two is that we have to learn from our history so that we can plan in the present to create a better future and a beautiful future for our children and the next generation.
Right.
So, in that context, what I really mean are two things. One is that we must not forget the brutal truth of the Portuguese rule in India, in particular Goa. Goa was the territory which was a part of India before and then came under the Portuguese rule for 450 years. Now, we always talk about, from a Goa centric point of view, about the good about the Portuguese. Portuguese gave us culture, Portuguese gave us crops, Portuguese gave us XYZ. While Portuguese did do that, and there is no denial of that, the fact of the matter is that they did also have a brutal rule over the indigenous people of Goa. The
Correct.
Goa Inquisition, as you had rightly pointed out at the start, is a stark reality of Goa, and the Goans must not forget that. We were the indigenous people of Goa, or rather Gomantak, as we were called before.
I
And
know it is mentioned
then,
even in the Bhagavad Puran and the Harivansh Puran and the Mahabharata.
correct. Just like I said earlier, the past cannot be forgotten, but the past you cannot live in the past. So when Pramod Sawant made the statement that he will work towards erasing Portuguese rule, let me tell you what I think of it, because I've not had a chance to have a conversation with him on it. But I don't think he's talking about Indo-Portuguese relationships at the present. What he's really talking about is the colonial hangover that does exist in Goa with certain sections of the people in Goa. Okay? Now, let me
The old
explain
elite,
it to
you
you
mean?
even further. A certain section of the population in Goa believe that they are more Portuguese than they are Indians.
Okay.
That's what I mean.
Mhm.
Okay?
Okay.
Now, let me give you an example to how to further take this. Now, just because a ruler sets up a harem and gives you all the best treatment possible, the best food, the best clothes, the best crops, as some people have been advocating, the fact of the matter is you are still a concubine in that harem. Goa was a territory that the Portuguese came into to try and bring civilization to us indigenous people. Are you telling me that we Goans and Indians were not cultured before that? We were certainly cultured. I don't think Portuguese brought culture to us. People talk about Portuguese bringing cashew, potatoes, pineapples, chilies to Goa. Do you think they bought that for us? Or was it for the trade benefits that they got? Or was it for the ability for them to export what they grew in Goa? Why did the Portuguese come to Goa? Why did the process of colonization happen? The process of colonization were when European rulers thought that they could go to other parts of the world and bring them under their power to rule them. Just like a ruler making a harem where you are concubines, right? You are treated well, but you are still a concubine in their eyes. In the reality, Goa was an economic hub for most of Portugal's activities. In fact, Lisbon at one point of time was running for monies made in Goa and then supported the capital of Portugal. This is a fact in history. So today when somebody tells me that, we must not forget our Portuguese, and his history, they gave us so much. Yes, thank you very much. We accept it. It's a part of our history. Nobody's denying that. But why are you not accepting that they were brutal to us as well? Now, my name is Savio Rodrigues. I'm of Christian faith, right? For all you know, in our ancestries, we could be Seraphitic Jews as well that were from Portugal. But the fact is that my family decided to be Indian because we were brought up as Indians. But there are several people within the Christian community, within the Hindu community, and the Muslim community from Goa who opt for Portuguese citizenship, for which they want to go. Is that their right to go to Portugal? Of course, it's their right. The law allows them to do that. The law.
What's the law? Can you clarify? What's the Portuguese law in this?
So any person whose family member was born before 1961 in Goa has the opportunity to apply for Portuguese citizenship. So my father, for example, was born in 1941, and he was born in what was Portuguese Goa. So I, as his son, because my father was born before, can opt for a Portuguese citizenship. And that is across the board for all Goans. My father never opted for Portuguese citizenship because he considered himself to be an Indian. I was never going to opt for Portuguese citizenship because I consider myself to be an Indian. But is it wrong for somebody else to do that? No, because the law allows him to do that. But when you're opting for Portuguese citizenship, you opt with the need to want to show your loyalty, your acceptance of that country's nationality, right? Currently, India does not have dual citizenship with Portugal. So you cannot have one leg in Portugal and one leg in India, or Goa for that matter. Like I mentioned it before in one of my discussions, that the Bible also, Jesus talks in the Bible that you cannot serve two masters. So you can either serve Portugal, या आप पोर्चुगीज के साथ जाना चाहते हो तो जा सकते हो, उस देश में रह सकते हो, वहाँ के वीजा या सिटीजनशिप ले सकते हो और उसके बाद आप यूके में जाके काम कर सकते हो. वो आपका हक है, वो रूल्स आपको देता है. लेकिन आप वहाँ पे बैठ के इंडिया के बारे में या गोवा के बारे में ज्ञान नहीं देना चाहिए कि इंडिया पोर्चुगीज की तरह नहीं है, पोर्चुगीज रूल अच्छा था. पोर्चुगीज तो गया ना, गोवा वापस इंडिया के अंदर आ गया है और इंडिया था ही था, पोर्चुगीज का कभी था ही नहीं.
ये बताएं, ये कितना, ये जो आप बता रहे हैं, that opting for Portuguese citizenship, is there any idea what would be the number? कितने लोगों ने ये opt किया होगा Portuguese citizenship?
Well, there was a recent article in the local newspaper about 3 or 4 days ago that spoke about, on an average, about 8 to 10 people a day opting for Portuguese citizenship.
8 to 10 people a day. So that's about
Yes.
3,500 odd people in a year, and that's been going on for last 60 years. Is it?
You see, it's very important to understand. See, the general belief sometimes is that, India is not like Europe. India is not like that foreign country where you get everything for you. So we'd rather go to that foreign country and live there and, be a foreigner, right? India and Goa has got so many problems. The government has got so many problems. This road is not proper. That facility is not there. It's not like the foreign world. But unfortunately, what I feel sad about is that Goa, whether it was in Portuguese rule and now in India back again, the fact is that Goa remains to be your Mathrabhumi, like India. So your mother, no matter how complex she might be, or maybe has a certain amount of weakness in her, you don't change your mother, no? So you have to choose who is your mother. Is your mother Portugal or is your mother India? Or you can have a stepmother if you want to. But you cannot, you cannot at any point of time say that, hey, listen, the Portuguese time was better in than India. I mean, what do we know about the Portuguese time? Do you want to know how badly the indigenous Hindus were treated during the Portuguese time?
Oh, you can check the
There are very
old Goan law, and you can find out.
again.
I have done a study of the old Goan law in the context of the Uniform Civil Code, and I could find out very easily how it was loaded in favor of the Christians.
Correct. But the fact of the matter is also that the Uniform Civil Code is probably Goa is the only state that has the Uniform Civil Code, right?
Yeah, but
So while it
that
so
connotation is
let's come
different.
back to the
That's of
most
course is a separate argument. But that civil code talks about all the laws. That includes contract laws, commercial laws, civil laws, everything. So that's the entire gamut of thing. And as far as the personal laws are concerned, personal law is loaded in the favor of the Christians. So I have
the most
recommended
important.
specifically that this may not be adopted at all. But that's a separate
See
issue
what
altogether.
the most important things for us to understand is that Goa was always a part of India. Goa has become a part of India again. 450 years of colonization will leave its mark on the people. Okay? So, one first aspect is that the past that was there, the present cannot pay for the sins of the past. That is a very important aspect that we must consider. But what the present must also not do is forget that there was a past. Otherwise, we will lead to a similar future,
There has to
right?
be a
So, what
reconciliation that people at present,
exactly?
they must own up the past. This is what the present crop of the Muslims don't do. They don't own up the atrocities that their ancestors committed, and instead they try to whitewash. They try to say that, okay, you're telling lies, and then they use the leftists to whitewash that history, do all those kind of things. That should not happen.
You see, one of the saddest parts of the Inquisition or the Portuguese rule in India, in Goa, sorry, was that a lot of the Hindus had to move away from Goa, where their Kul Devtas were taken along with them and moved. There was a lot of oppression, there was a lot of conversion, there was a lot of atrocities to the people. And that is a reality of the truth. Now, the present for the people in today's generation, should I hate the Portuguese for that? I can't hate the Portuguese of today, no. But I can certainly know that this is a past that has happened. And this is the past that we should work towards that does not happen in the future. Therefore, reconciliation, as you rightly said, is very much imminent in Goa and the people of Goa. So when somebody asked me once, do you think the Pope should apologize for the Goa Inquisition? I said, of course, because he has set a precedent already in other parts of the world where there have been apologies made out by the Vatican and the Pope for crimes or atrocities committed by the Catholic Church. He's done it in different parts of the world. So it is not unprecedented. But what is important is how do we live today? It is important for us to understand today that India and Portugal share a very important geopolitical relationship. And that is something that needs to be worked on. The Goa CM is working on it. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is working extensively on it. In fact, the Portuguese Prime Minister is a Goan origin. Right? So we don't need to fight. We don't need to think that one is better than the other. But what we need to do is come together to realize that history is history. That's why it's called history. It is the past. And past are only reflection to the plans that we plan in the present to create better futures for our children and for ourselves. Right? So today, when the chief minister made that statement, I'm not against his statement. Let me correct you on that. I'm not. In fact, I agree that temple should be built. Right? All I'm saying is
just one. I'll just intervene here for clarification. Is there a study to show how many temples were demolished and how many temples were built over?
So that study, I think, has been granted extension of time to complete, and they would be able to complete it by the end of the year and present the document to the government to take a call on it. Now, when he did something like that, I stood up as a representative of BJP and said that I support it because it is a fact that temples were destroyed by the Portuguese. But I also requested that there were certain churches that were left to ruin during the Portuguese rule. Those churches which have got historic value, which have got not only religious but also tourism value, should also be renovated, is what I have said. Why have I said that? Because the Portuguese
I guess these are the churches of other denominations.
Precisely. I'm coming to that. So the Goa Inquisition, which was given by the Pope in the order, was basically driven by the Jesuits that came in. Okay? But before the Jesuits came into Goa, the Carmelites, the Franciscans, the Augustinians, the Dominicans were already existing in Goa. More importantly, Goa was also the hub for the Jews and the Neo-Christians. Okay? The Neo-Christians were not a part of the Roman Catholic Church. They were better known as Gnostic Christians. They were not a part of the Roman Catholic Church at all. So when the Portuguese, what was the purpose of the Inquisition? The purpose of the Inquisition was to go against any Christians that did not adopt to the Roman Catholic hierarchy or doctrine or rules. And along with the Neo-Christians, you had the targeting of the Hindus also that happened, which is why conversions were happening of the indigenous people. My forefathers would have been converted. Okay, why would they have been converted? I don't know, because we were never told, either through force or through allurements. I really don't know. And I don't care, because I have always been brought up to believe that I'm an Indian. Right? So now how do we deal with Portuguese and India's relationship today? Today, every single Goan must remember that he is an Indian if he chooses to accept Goa as his Matrabhumi and as a part of India. Then your loyalty must be towards India. If you want to choose that you want to be in Portugal, then you are within your rights to go to Portugal. But you cannot be sitting in Goa and in India telling us that times of Portugal were better than it is in India right now. Then you're not being fair to either of them. Right? So I watched a wonderful stand-up comedy once with a Singaporean guy. I don't remember his name right now, but he described colonization in a very beautiful way. Okay, so he says, "Do you know where the word colonization comes from?" And then the people say, are asking him, "Yes, where does it come from?" So he says the word colonization comes from a part in the body known as the colon.
Mhm. Okay.
Okay, so what is the use or the purpose of a colon in the body? The purpose of the colon in the body is to process your waste and then bring it out in the form of shit. So the whole idea of colonization, whether it was Portuguese, whether it was British in India, was to process their shit in our land. Now you could argue, like some of them will, that shit can be used for manure. That is true. And you can grow crops like potatoes, cashews, and all these other things. But it does not change the simple fact that.
Hello. Yeah, I just lost you for a bit. Hello. Can you hear me?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, better. Hello. Hello.
Hi, can you hear me?
Hello. Yeah. Carry on.
Sanjay, can you hear me? Yeah, I'm there.
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay. So, like I said, people can argue that shit can be used as manure and you can grow food. You can grow your plants like cashews and various other things that people claim that Portuguese did bring to Goa, right? But shit is shit nevertheless. All right. So we have to get
Quite
one
right.
thing clear, that this is India, this is Goa, and to be more direct, this is Gomantak, the land of the cows, the land of the indigenous people of Goa. We are no longer slaves of any colonial power. So the colonial hangover that exists within some people in Goa, for reasons best known to them, and I'm not faulting them with the colonial hangover, that's the nature of hangover. You drink and you get high. That's the nature of a hangover. So some people get drunk on colonial past and are high about it. If you love your colonial past so much, then my brother, you're most welcome to go and live in that country that was your colonial master. India is a free country, Goa is a free land. Goa is a part of Bharat and will always be one of the most dearest children of Bharat Mata. It's no longer under Portuguese rule.
Savio, just taking a slight tangent on this theme because you have spoken about it in the past. And that was during the Karnataka election when we witnessed a certain religious bigotry angle uh, where the Christian pastors, of course, I don't think they were Catholics, but the Christian pastors, they said that you should not elect BJP on ground of religion. Does that also happen in Goa somewhat?
See, the Catholic Church. Well, it's a bit of a dichotomy, to be very honest. Sanjay, and I'll tell you why. Uh, Initially, yes, there used to be a lot of negativity of the Catholic Church towards the BJP. But then you had somebody as intelligent as the late Mr. Manor Parikar, that he was able to bridge that gap in the 2012 elections. And you have a considerable amount of Christians come out and vote for Manor Parikar led government at that point of time. Okay. Somewhere down the road, after he moved and to the defense and then came back, there was a little bit of a conflict that existed in some aspects of the relationship with the Catholic Church. In the 2017 election, in the 2022 elections as well, there was a little bit of what could have been a better relationship. There wasn't as desired a relationship that was there between the Catholic Church or the Christian community and the BJP. But a considerable amount of Christian MLAs on the BJP ticket did win. They did win. So there is a concentrated effort by certain lobbies in the Christian community that could include certain church leaders as well that don't like Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the BJP because they have been led to believe that because they're a Hindu majority party, they will be working against the interest of the Christians and the Catholics. Personally, I don't believe that to be true. And if it were that fear psychosis, then the Christian community must be able to come out with the right representation to the government, both at a state level as well as the center, to bring about that fear through dialogue and representation to address that fear. Today, one of the problems that we face in the Christian community, and I say that knowing very, very well that some in the Christian community might not agree with me, but how much of representation do we have in places like the parliament, in places like the IAS, in places like the IFS, in places like the IPS coming out of the Christian community across India? Second, yes, Christians have contributed to nation building. They do a lot in the field of medical, education, defense, corporate world. So Christians are an integral part of the nation building. They are no different from a Hindu or a Muslim or a Sikh. They too are daughters and sons of Bharat Mata. The fear psychosis, in my opinion, arrives out of a need to defend the religion, B, maybe the political alignments that certain leaders within the church have with certain political parties that may or may not be the BJP. Which means to say that should we get into Christian appeasement? Should the BJP get into Christian appeasement? The answer is no. I believe that there should be no appeasement based on religion.
Right.
But because if we have to be truly secular, like I said earlier, you cannot judge me based on my religion. You have to judge me on a simple truth that I'm a citizen of this country. Secularism is the acceptance of no religion in matters of governance. It does not mean acceptance of all religion. It means acceptance of no religion. So I don't.
Yeah, that's the European definition. Of course, that in India it used to be what is called as we have in the Bhagavad Gita. They say that samam sarveshu bhuteshu. That is, I am the same in all beings. So everybody is the same. That is the very basic of Sanatan Dharma.
You see, but there is one thing
that is somewhat different. That's somewhat different from the European notion.
Correct. Which is why I believe that we don't need to appease anybody on the basis of religion. If there is any activity that needs to be done, it is for uplifting those people who are below poverty line in terms of economics. You have to get them to rise up. That is when you create a level playing field. So economic strata of belonging to a particular economic community, a weak economic community, is the only way the government should go out, give them a hand and lift them up to bring them to competitive levels. Now, having said that, should there be a dialogue and an outreach between the Indian government, the BJP, and the Christian community? The answer is yes. Because today, the Christian community is an integral part of the society. They are as valuable as the Hindus. They are as valuable as the Muslims and as valuable as the Sikhs. So should the BJP do an outreach? The answer is yes. Will that translate into votes? I don't know whether it will. But you cannot stop doing that. You cannot not dialogue and find out what is the problem of the Christian community and what are the ways and means we can solve it. Because eventually, whether it's a Hindu community, Christian, Muslim, or Sikh, it is the responsibility of the government and the responsibility of political parties to work together to make a harmonious society. So when you look at what happened in Karnataka, where there was been a complete plan by the minorities, the Muslim and the Christian minorities, you realize that it was that they had deliberately worked to ensure that the BJP does not get voted into power, and that's a fact. They did work because in their mind they felt that another political party is more important than the BJP for their issues. Does that mean that they want appeasement? I don't know, maybe. Are they afraid of this negative connotation or the narrative that is built around the BJP against the minorities? I don't think BJP is against the minorities. I don't think
BJP
BJP
may
has
be
ever done
against
anything.
evangelism. The BJP is against evangelism, I think. And
I
evangelism
don't
is what creates bad blood, especially in places like Tamil Nadu, Andhra, and other places.
see evangelism in any form, Sanjay, is bringing bad blood not only in India but other parts of the world too. Which is why you have nations like China being very aggressive as far as evangelical activities are concerned. But we are not China. We are a democratic country. So there are laws that need to be followed, and conversion is an issue. Forced conversion is an issue. Conversion by allurement is an issue. And therefore, you need laws to deal with it. And those laws, in fact, I'm repeating it again. I said it once before on your program that the anti conversion bill in Karnataka at that point of time was used as a tool to tell the people within the Christian community that you are going to be targeted because you are going to be converting people. Conversion is a reality in certain sections of the denominations of the Christians, but to attribute it to every Christian is unfair. Because I think by and large, most Christians, just like the Hindus, have always learned to live in harmony with one another.
Yeah, but
The
then people at
conflict
large do not know the difference. They do not know the difference between the Baptist and Presbyterians on the one hand and the Catholics on the other. If you look at the
I agree.
activities of the Baptist and the Presbyterian, they are nothing less than scandalous.
I'm completely in agreement with you. The purpose of evangelism or evangelical activities is to convert, is to proselytize, right? And I agree with you. So the fear will exist. Like Pastor George Punya, his statement is that I will not walk bare feet on India, on the land of India, or Bharat Mata because it is contaminated and I will get contaminated. Now, you want somebody of that religious denomination to make that statements in India? I think you can take your wonderful self and park it wherever you want to. If you don't like Bharat Mata, because well, the Bharat
What's his
Mata will always
denomination?
be. I'm not sure of it, but certainly from the evangelical sector. I'm not sure of the exact denomination, but he's an evangelist. Right? But that was what Pastor Punya said. That's the same gentleman that Rahul Gandhi had met. But the
Yeah,
point is, if you don't,
Rahul Gandhi likes such people. Huh? You mentioned that in my last program.
yes. So I'm saying if a person like Pastor Punya or pastors like him that talk about India and converting India to Jesus, to everything, please understand one thing. And I'll say it again very, very, very candidly, like I always did, and I always do, is that my belief in Jesus' teaching is that he didn't come to convert people to a religion. He came to transform people towards a better life. It was not institutionalized. It is not the number of people that join you that make you a large organization or a large group of believers. But what is important is how you transform your life and how you live your life that transforms people around you. So if some people in the Christian community might hate what I say, well, all I can do is only pray for you, because that's what I was taught to do. I was not taught to hate you. I was not taught to go to a Hindu to convert them. What I was taught to do is that I live my life to the best of my ability, so that my Hindu sisters and brothers say, you know, he's a good man, he's a good human, he's lived his life, he's done well for the society. Isn't that what we all want? The purpose of religion is always to divide, because people interpret religion in whichever way they want to. And the Abrahamic religions have always been working to interpret that we are better than everybody else.
Quite right. We are the
Right.
sole repository of truth.
And that itself is the misnomer, Sanjay. Because the time you say you're the self-repository of God and the truth, then you diminish the very omnipresent nature of God. This God cannot be defined. How can you define God? The all-powerful,
Oh, well,
the
there are several
almighty.
interpretations, like the
Correct.
Islamics. They restrict
So
their God
I,
only to a certain place in the seventh heaven.
say I
It's
don't know.
blasphemy if you say that he is omnipresent.
I'm a very simple guy who has very limited knowledge in religion to a little bit of studies that I did. So I merely saying, religion is a path. Religion is a path that allows you to and brings you to the door of spirituality. But whether you want to open the door of spirituality is you. And when you walk past the door of spirituality, which is Sanatan Dharma, in simple words, then there is no God and in the religion. There is God around you and in you. It's as simple as that.
Yes, that's exactly that. That's exactly that. Isha vasyamidam sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat. That means that he is everywhere. So with that, I think we will wind up this conversation. Wonderful talking to you, Savio, and
Thank you.
you were forthright as ever. And I'm quite sure that people are going to get a very, very fresh vision into what certain controversies are about. Thank you so much, Savio.
Take
Jai
care.
Hind,
God
Vande
bless.
Mataram.
Bye. Jai Hind.